Hello, everyone. This is Rick with the Cyber Pro podcast. Industry leaders share their insights. It's about 5 questions in 9 minutes because hackers never sleep. Let's get to it. Dr. Nikki, who are you and what do you do?
Great. Well, hi, I'm Nikki Robinson. I am a security architect by day, and I joke that I'm a professor by night. I'm a professor of practice at CapTech. Let's see. I have 2 doctorates, cybersecurity, human factors. I love doing research. I would say my top 2 areas of focus for research are vulnerability chaining and incident response. Those would be like the 2 big things. But I am also a runner, a triathlete. I'm a mom. I think that's about it.
You have a big girl job as well.
Yes, yes. The security architect, keeps me busy.
Keeps you busy as well. So you see all sides of the house, which is really awesome. And that's why I think this will be an interesting response to this. How do you feel the cybersecurity landscape has evolved over the past few years?
Oh, so much. I would say, especially, I'll take this that's really my technical answer is so much. From a, I would say from an incident response perspective, it's really the IR practices have grown and matured so much because cyber attacks have gotten more sophisticated and less sophisticated. They're still doing a lot of the password spraying, brute force attacks, network scanning, all of the basics, but they're still getting in that way. And so to me, there's still some of the basics that we're doing right, basic secure configuration, and some of that is still there. But I think especially the complexity and the ease of use for ransomware, that has really changed, I think, cybersecurity in general, and especially incident response, because you have to really be prepared for ransomware. That's really my sort of takeaway is looking at the industry. That and especially recently, we're seeing a lot more social engineering. That has always sort of been the undercurrent, with phishing and spear phishing and even business email compromise. But I think phishing again is starting to hit the spotlight. So I would say it's still changing, but we still have that undercurrent of social engineering and ransomware has just exploded.
I mean, I agree. I think social engineering has always been a problem, but now we're seeing this uptick in it. What do you think has caused that?
I think because it's still pretty easy. It's still an easy way. You could make however many calls, right, in a day to talk to someone, and all you have to do is get to one right person. That's it. And you can get the keys to the kingdom. So I think it's still a relatively, unsophisticated attack. You can call someone and, pretend to be someone. And the amount of databases that they have out there now with usernames and passwords that they can just go out and try to find someone, it's pretty easy. So I think just because the amount of time it takes them to do that is still pretty quick. I think it's one of the reasons why phishing is still so successful. You can send out thousands and hundreds of thousands of emails so quickly, to anyone, and all you have to do is get one person to click on it. So I think that's really, they're getting the bang for the buck out of that one.
Nice. My big boy job would probably frown, but I try to click on as many things as possible to test our own internal security. So yeah.
That's like internal pen testing, right? That's
Right.
Yeah.
They know I do it, and so they just kind of expect it at this point.
Yeah. Yep.
So I know you love the research side, and I'm curious, what, if any, are there emerging trends, technologies, or approaches that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I'm totally biased because I am a human factors researcher, but I think there's a lot out there, going into how can we actually really help security practitioners, which is really what I want to do in research. And so I think we're seeing, there's been a lot of research and sort of understanding how humans operate, right, from the security practitioner side, and then even from the IT and development side. As these environments are getting more and more complex and growing really quickly, we're sort of leaving the people behind. It's sort of like, hey, you've got to get 100 new skills, and oh, by the way, you have less than a month to do it. So I think we're starting to see that, hey, we need to build some, we need to either build some more automation, we need to build some better tools for people, we need to consolidate our tooling. I think we're starting to see a lot of really good research in the area of, hey, how can we actually make this simpler for the people that are managing these systems? Because, what we've been doing over the last 10 years is kind of, it's not working, especially as, we were talking about ransomware and phishing just becomes easier and easier. I think we're seeing this trend and this need for better tools and technology for security practitioners, and not necessarily just more, more and more and more tooling, but really the right tooling to get in place for security practitioners.
Do you have any real world cybersecurity stories that we could get some lessons or takeaways from that we can learn from?
I'm actually going to take this from like a teaming perspective versus like a cyber attack perspective. So this is one of the reasons why I actually got into security. I was in IT operations for many, many years. And one of the things I saw, especially working with, security assessors and auditors, was that, uh, it can be a lot. You could spend hours in a room with a security auditor going over spreadsheets and security controls and things. And honestly, one of the biggest things I've learned, and one of the reasons why I wanted to get into security, is I wanted to make security easier for people. And so I think from a very real world human perspective, the way we operate and work together as teams, I know I've had people in the past be like, well, that's really kumbaya. I mean, sort of, but I also see how positively we can lower risk and actually reduce risk when we work together versus, someone sitting across the room and saying like, hey, you've got to do this and you must do it in 30 days. And, I think that tactic doesn't work so much, especially if you're dealing with like a ransomware attack. So anyway, I've seen from the security side, from a very real world perspective, that when I work with IT operations, when I work with developers, when I work with leadership, and they're very open to collaboration, we're able to reduce risk very quickly versus if I'm working with someone and, it's like they don't want to share information, or they're not quite sure, or, they want to push back, and we spend a lot of time, and all that time spent, going back and forth and trying to figure out things is actually increasing that risk over time. So I think collaboration is probably what I would say from like a very real world perspective is been really positive and impactful.
That's a really interesting insight, only because on a daily basis, I bump into people who are very prohibitive. I don't want to tell you, I don't want to share with you, I don't want to give away the farm, as it were. But my response has always been, the hackers know what you're doing. So why aren't you trying to make a better mousetrap? No, don't recreate the wheel. And I'm curious, just from your perspective, how do you push past that? How do you make them want to be more collaborative?
Yeah. So I always open with a joke. I think being, being kind of, being a little bit more of a person, right? I think that's the other barrier that we're sort of breaking down in security, is that I'm not here just looking at spreadsheets and the amount of vulnerabilities you have, the amount of patches that are missing. I'm not here really doing that. I'm here to really integrate with the team and figure out, what do you have going on? What are your SLAs? Do you have a project delivery date? Do you have, I find integrating myself with the team and getting to know them, that really helps to improve that relationship really quickly versus me coming in and saying, all right, we've got to do these things. We've got this deadline. We have to do that. So I come in from a more, I would say, personal, relaxed sort of way. And that sort of, I think, is a little bit disarming in the way that it's kind of like, oh, she's not here to, yell and scream at me. Oh, okay. So that's usually my tactic, is to try to come in and understand what's going on, knowing that usually if I'm involved in a situation, it's because everybody's stressed out, they're frustrated, there's a lot going on. And if I can help alleviate that in any way, I can make friends and usually get information a little bit faster.
That's amazing. Final question, fun question. What's your favorite piece of retro technology that makes you smile?
Oh, okay. Has to be the Nintendo 64 with GoldenEye. Like playing GoldenEye,
All right.
just that total, like literally just seeing it in the Nintendo 64, that is like the best, absolute best.
I love it. Nikki, thank you so much for being on the Cyber Pro podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Thank you for tuning into the Cyber Pro podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on new podcasts and all of our cool bonus content.